Greg Locke did a live stream on YouTube the other day titled Exposing Witchcraft in the Church. Turns out he believes his entire congregation is possessed by demons because people have been placing tarot cards around his church. So I wanted to go through some of the more bizarre clips I found in this live stream. I talked about it on Twitch, and I'll be uploading clips of this whole live stream, like the whole thing, beginning to end, to my Telltale Unfiltered channel in the next week or so. So keep a lookout there if you want to see the whole thing. It gets weird. But I talked a little bit about it on my main channel recently. I wanted to talk about the more bizarre stuff today. So let's take a look at this clip of Greg Locke attempting to exorcise demons from his church members.
People take little tarot cards, the spirit of Santeria and things like that, and they slip them under the chips. I think we'd be shocked at what's under these chips.
Because his church is actually a gigantic circus tent. So he has chip floor, I don't know what you'd call it, like mulch, I guess, or hay or something kind of like that. That's what he's talking about. Like there are chips on the floor that people walk on. There isn't like a floor, it's just ground. That's what he's talking about. Apparently somebody's been slipping tarot cards under the cedar chips or whatever it is in his church. That's funny. That's an interesting form of protest, that's for sure.
So before I start talking about the cult, here's what I'm going to say. If we got any spirits in this room tonight connected to the occult, right this moment you leave this room, and right this moment you come up and you get out. I want every spirit right now connected to a fortune teller, connected to a tarot card, or connected to a psychic reading to leave these people right now in the name of Jesus Christ. Every spirit and demon.
Oh my God, dude, I love it. I'm eating this up. The guy is, no joke, trying to exorcise demons from his church members. So I hear you asking, what brought him to the conclusion that his church is possessed by demons, right? Apparently there's gossip going around in his church. People are unhappy with the way he's running things. They're unhappy with his head of security, Greg Borchers. They call him Hulk Hogan. That's like their nickname for the guy, apparently. They're unhappy with the security choices that Locke is making, like he just hired or promoted some new guy. I forget the guy's name now, but he talks about it in the whole, the live stream that I covered recently. So anyways, people are gossiping, and he believes that that's because they're possessed by demons as a result of a witch that he thinks is currently actively right now in his circus tent, in his church. He thinks that there's a witch in there that's been possessing people with demons, possessing his congregation. Seriously. If you're blown away by that, just wait. Just wait. There is more. We have more to talk about. Leading up to this next clip that we're about to watch, he says this incantation with his church, basically. I rebuke all witchcraft and wizardry and blah, blah, blah. I renounce anybody in my family line that has ever said an oath to the Freemasons.
Before I preach on witchcraft, here's what I want you to say. I renounce every form of witchcraft, all sorcery, all divination, and all occult involvement. I renounce any affiliation with the Catholic Church and all of its idolatry. I renounce any connection, known or unknown, that I have to the Masonic Lodge, any secret society oath made by me or by my ancestors is rendered powerless tonight.
Just this big, weird incantation to try to expel witches and demons from everybody in the congregation, right? So after he goes through that whole thing, then he comes out and he says this. Listen.
Now, I will say, apparently that worked, because our partner has vacated the building.
Our partner being the witch, or the person that he believes to be a witch that's been at his church.
You ought not throw people out of the church. I didn't. I prayed them out. You side with them, I'll throw you out. I'm tired of people siding with witches.
Okay, I didn't know that was a problem, but all right. Here's the problem with this guy. He has a different view of reality than everybody else. There's a verse in Exodus 7 that talks about Moses and Aaron going to Pharaoh and throwing their staffs on the ground, and their staffs turn to snakes. Pharaoh calls his wise men and sorcerers, whatever else, and they do the same thing. They throw their staffs on the ground, they turn to snakes too. But Moses and Aaron's snake staffs gobble up the other snake staffs, thus trying to illustrate that God's power is capable as just as much as Satan's, except God's power is greater, so he can do more. He's capable of more, but the same things. So Greg Locke took that verse to mean he is capable of fortune-telling, divination, telekinesis, and all of the other stuff that he believes witches are capable of doing, astral projection and all of it. But he's doing it in God's name rather than in Satan's name. That's the difference here. That's why I call his denomination Witches for Jesus. In reality, he doesn't have a name for his denomination. He calls himself non-denominational. A lot of these evangelicals use that. I call them Witches for Jesus. I think it's a fitting name.
Witchcraft is used to control and manipulate people's minds. Then you have divination. That's the revelatory branch, meaning by that, that's the Python spirit. That's the prophecies, or shall I say, the false prophecies, because they can falsely prophesy.
So if you prophesy something and you get it wrong, that's a sign you're a witch. You're not using God's power, you're using Satan's power. And Satan's power tends to be hit or miss with prophecy. That's what he believes. So if you get it wrong, you're getting your power from Satan and you're a witch. If you get it right 100% of the time, you're not a witch, you're a witch for Jesus.
Let me say that again. They can falsely prophesy. Divination is a real thing. There's a lot of pastors that have the spirit of divination. If they operated under the power of the Holy Spirit, it would be beautiful, prophetic. But they operate under a spirit of divination and they tell lies. Lies. And some of these people on TV that call themselves a prophet, ain't no such thing. My hind leg, I'm a Japanese navigator if they are.
Oh, he's getting pretty emotional over this point.
Some of them are witch doctors. Warlocks. Sorcery is where the power's done. That's where you have telekinesis.
Telekinesis. He unironically, seriously believes that people are capable of telekinesis.
Telepathy. That's where you have things like astral projection.
Telepathy. He thinks that people can communicate with each other through their mind as witches.
Like astral projection. You do realize that's real. That's not Smurfs. That's real. That's not Little Mermaid stuff. That's real.
No, it's not real, Greg. It's not. Like, when did they do astral projection or telekinesis in the Smurfs or in Little Mermaid? I don't remember this. This guy is absolutely obsessed with witches, like to an unhealthy degree. And I say this in all seriousness. This is the exact mindset that led to the Salem witch trials and the Crusades. And it's happening now, today. How? You got me. How are people so completely suckered by this? I have no idea. But somehow, people like Greg Locke, despite owning a device that puts information at your fingertips, believes all of this nonsense anyways, despite that fact. Blows my mind. It gets weirder. We haven't even gotten to the weird part yet. If you remember, I recently covered this. This is Jehovah's Witness governing body member Stephen Lett, and he has new light for the Jehovah's Witnesses organization that he wanted to reveal to people. Listen to this, see what he has to say. It's pretty short.
Now, if we think about it, we're not born as friends of God because we're born as sinful offspring of Adam. Actually, if we think about it, we're born as enemies of God. Sometimes you'll hear people say of a little baby, "Look at that little angel." But more accurate would be to say, "Look at that little enemy of God."
Yeah, so I don't know where Jehovah's Witnesses' heads are at right now, but something drove them to come to that conclusion, that babies are actually enemies of God. And I was absolutely blown away by that mindset. It only made sense to me that they would even say something like that, because I know that they're desperately trying to get people to get baptized, like immediately. They want people to join the religion and get locked in so they have no choice. They have no ability to leave anymore. So they want parents to get their kids baptized as young as possible. Usually it's at, 12 to 14 years old. That's roughly when I got baptized. But I've heard of cases of kids getting baptized as young as 7 or 8 years old. And I get the impression with this new light that they're giving us, this prophecy, that they want kids to start getting baptized at 7 or 8 rather than 12 to 14 moving forward, because they're trying to lock people in. So, how does this relate to Greg Locke? That's the question. Weirdly, it seems like Greg Locke had a similar idea. Listen to this next clip.
You're born with a motivation to witchcraft. Every one of us are born baptized into witchcraft, sorcery, divination. You know what witchcraft is? It's mind control, situation control.
Yeah, we clearly have completely different ideas of what witchcraft are. He did mention it earlier, though, if you remember. He said there are different branches of witchcraft. There's like telekinesis and telepathy. His whole thing with this sermon was that the other branch is not just like the telekinesis and telepathy, but also mind control. So what he's describing witchcraft as actually is cult-like behavior, controlling people, manipulation, and things like that, domination, so on and so forth. It was a weird little route he took with this. But anyways, keep listening to this because it starts adding up once you listen to a little bit more of what he's saying.
What witchcraft is? It's mind control, situation control. It is literally, the biblical definition is, you are trying to control people, outcomes, situations, and destinies of others.
I don't know that. I mean, I don't know what verse he's getting this from. I don't remember that at all, but okay.
How many of you have children that are under the age of 3? Would you put your hands up? Okay, a few of you. We know who to pray for here in a little bit. Here's what's interesting, Jesse, you know this.
Okay, he's about to tell us a story about babies, and this is his attempt to justify his statement that babies are born into witchcraft. Bizarre thing to say in the first place, bizarre way to view it, and it's even more bizarre to hear a non-denominational preacher, a famous megachurch pastor like Greg Locke say it, so soon after hearing Jehovah's Witnesses say the exact same thing. Why does everybody hate babies all of a sudden? I just don't get it.
Here's what's interesting, Jesse, you know this. Little baby will wake up, he'll wet his little drawers, and he'll cry.
Yeah, that was a weird way to say that, but all right.
And rightly so. So mama comes in or daddy comes in, whichever's on duty. And they change that little diaper and they pick that baby up and they cuddle that baby. And the baby, of course, loves that warmth, that attention, that affection. So the next night, the baby doesn't even wet itself. But it knows if it cries, it's going to get cuddled, right? You came forth of your mother's womb speaking lies. There's nothing wrong with you. You're changed and you're not hungry. You just manipulate to get your parents to respond, and it works.
No, Greg, actually, affection, love and affection are requirements. That is required for babies. They need love and affection. And he said under 3 years old. For the most part, under, say, 2, babies don't really have any other way to communicate but to cry. That's it. That's how they communicate that they need something. So yeah, they may cry because they wet themselves and they need change. Or they may cry because they're hungry. They may cry because they need attention. I mean, there are a number of different things that they need. Babies are the ultimate symbol of innocence. There is no manipulation from babies. Now, at a certain age, they reach the moral reasoning stage where they're trying to figure out what morality is, basically. I would say from 2 to 3 years old, babies are generally not manipulating anybody, but they're really difficult to deal with because they're going through an independence phase. They want to be independent. They want to learn to do things on their own, and they don't want you around. They don't want your help with certain things. They want to do it themselves. So they turn into just a complete pain to deal with. There's also colic. That's just, babies crying for absolutely no reason at all. They don't need anything. They don't want attention. They don't want anything. They just scream. And there's nothing you can do to fix it. But then, after 3, I would say between the ages of maybe 4 and 8 years old maybe, or even 3 and 8 years old, they go through moral reasoning where they discover, hey, if I pretend like this person hurt me and go cry about it to my mom will do something about it, and I will get to have their cookie, or I will get to take the toy. If I basically pretend that they took this from me, that I had it in the first place, then I'll get it. That's moral reasoning. And when that phase comes along, that's a standard part of human development. When that happens, you have to set it straight. You have to correct it. You have to let them know that's not right. People who just ignore it or don't help at all or don't set things straight or whatever else, they end up with kids that tend to be spoiled and entitled and things like that. If you don't contribute to kids' understanding of morality during the moral reasoning phase, then you end up with a little shithead, basically, is what happens. Although some people grow out of that eventually anyways. But Greg isn't talking about the moral reasoning phase here. Greg is talking about a baby who isn't even potty trained yet. I potty trained Kylie when she was 2 years old. On her 2nd birthday, we started potty training, and within a month, she was potty trained. She was a super easy kid to potty train. Did not have to struggle with that, and I was really lucky. Some people go all the way up to 3, and still the kid is stubborn and doesn't want to buckle down and figure it out, basically. But 2 to 3 years old, when a kid is not even potty trained yet, they're not going through a moral reasoning phase. They just want attention and love. Babies are not born into witchcraft. This is such a sad, heartbreaking thing to hear Greg even say. The dude has kids of his own. That is heartbreaking. For the kids.
And you're not hungry. You just manipulate to get your parents to respond, and it works, doesn't it? The manipulation is, the intimidation is, you ain't gonna sleep at all tonight if you don't do what I say. And babies are born with the ability to manipulate.
Babies are born with the ability to manipulate? I mean, I guess humans eventually reach the moral reasoning phase, so I suppose in some roundabout way you could say that. But babies are innocent, Greg. They're innocent. Like, there isn't an evil bone in a baby's body. They don't understand evil yet. They don't have a concept of it yet. This is so deeply sad. This is so deeply heartbreaking for the babies in Greg's life, honestly. And for the babies in Greg's audience's life. This is a mega church. There are people online listening to this nonsense and treating their kids accordingly. There is a point to this clip that I want to get to, an important point, and I hope you stick with me to the end because it gets real in a minute. Here's the thing about Greg Locke. Up to now, Greg has been kicked off of Twitter and Facebook at one time or another, and every other platform out there. He's been kicked off of all of them at one time or another, right? Well, come to find out, he's on YouTube. I didn't know that. He's got a YouTube channel with 100,000 subscribers on it. You guys remember a while back, Steven Anderson had a YouTube channel, for the leader of the NIFB. He had a YouTube channel with somewhere around 130,000 subscribers on it, and YouTube's attention was drawn to the things that he talks about.
I have to be honest, when I heard your sermon, it sounded like the rantings of someone who was either a hate monger or a religious zealot, and I'm wondering, which are you?
Well, I'm a religious zealot, and, I love the Bible. I love God's Word. I believe that the law of the Lord is perfect. And, Leviticus 20:13 clearly says, if a man also lie with mankind as he lieth with the woman, both of them have committed an abomination, they shall surely be put to death. Their blood shall be upon them. And, as a Christian, I believe the Bible, and that's where I get my belief.
He had a YouTube channel with somewhere around 130,000 subscribers on it, and they removed his channel, rightfully so. Let's talk a little bit about what was in the one video that I watched on Greg's YouTube channel. Again, this is June 6th. If you're curious and you want to see this for yourself on Greg Locke's YouTube channel, a link to the video, the YouTube channel, and the timestamps that we're dealing with are in the description of this video right now. So check them out. Let's watch what Greg Locke had to say about Kenneth Copeland.
full-blown demon-possessed Satan worshipers like Kenneth Copeland, the most powerful pastor in America. He's a demon and he's going to hell, and you tell him I said so.
I don't think Kenneth Copeland even cares, but all right, let's go on.
I'm about to kick his pulpit over and preach wide slam open tonight. That low-down sorry trafficking.
Yeah, obviously I had to blank out some words because they are not words that you can get away with having on YouTube. Remember, a link to this YouTube video is in the description, and the timestamps, if you want to see what he actually said originally, are all listed there.
I wish to God he would take me to court. I wish to God that demon would take me to court. I'll show the pictures I've got.
Okay, a couple of points here. First of all, he hasn't said anything that could actually get him sued yet because it's so difficult to actually sue somebody for defamation in the United States. It is an uphill battle. Not only do you have to prove that what they said wasn't true, you also have to prove that they said it intentionally, knowing it wasn't true, with the intent to destroy your reputation, and they actually have to do tangible damage to your reputation before you can get paid back for anything. Like, you have to show actual damages before you can get anything out of a lawsuit. So it's extremely unlikely that any of these people would sue Greg Locke. Like, Greg Locke could come out and say, I'm a demon. Me. Like, Telltale is a demon in human skin and is doing everything that he can to destroy God's people and slander me. He could spread my name around and my address and my phone number and everything else, and it wouldn't matter. I couldn't sue him because the laws are just set up that way in the United States. But he uses it as some kind of evidence that what he's saying is true. They're not suing me, so it must be true. No, they just wouldn't win a lawsuit in the United States. They probably could win one in any other country in the world, but that's not where they live.
Take me to court. I'll show the pictures I've got.
And that line right there implies to me that this guy has some illegal imagery lying around that for some reason he's not turning over to the police. If he has proof of this stuff, he should have given it over to the police a long time ago. Why is he holding on to this? It gets even worse than that. Listen.
You ever send another dime to that low-down sorry? I pray God curses your finances.
More words that you're not allowed to have on YouTube. I mean, a lot of these words you can have on YouTube, but at best it will cripple the reach, and at worst they may just delete the video and give you a hate speech strike anyways for it. So it's better to just not say the word in the first place. That's why I've been bleeping it out, but it's not bleeped on his channel. Technically not against the rules as far as I know. Saying those words isn't. But we'll get to another point in a second. Just keep listening.
I'm sick of these demon-worshiping pastors like Joel Osteen. Look, I'm just going to say it tonight. I don't care what the news media says. Joel Osteen ain't going to sue Greg Locke. I wished you would.
Again, using that as proof that, you know, he is correct in telling the truth about all this. He's not. Just because somebody doesn't have the time or money to sue you, or just because the criminal justice system doesn't care if you're telling the truth or not, doesn't mean that you're actually telling the truth.
Dude's worth so many millions of dollars, it's ridiculous. Why don't they sue the hillbilly preacher? I'll tell you why. Because he knows I'm right.
Whether you're right or not is completely irrelevant in the eyes of the law. It's whether or not you did damage to their reputation that they can show in financial records, basically, and that you knew what you were doing and were intentionally trying to damage their reputation.
I'm going to call them all out when I have to. You say, oh my goodness, you mean to tell me that Joel Osteen, he's that way with women? No, I'm here to tell you Joel Osteen's that way with boys. By the way, you ever heard of a dead man switch? Well, just in case they come and try to me, I got one of them.
Once again, why are you holding on to this stuff? You should have turned it over to the authorities a long time ago. If you get caught with this stuff, you'll be in just as bad a shape as they are.
Let them chase me down. Huh? It'll all go on the internet. Every last drop of it. Tom Hanks, Oprah, and all them.
Turn it over if you have something. Seriously, you will be in just as much trouble as they are for doing it if you have this kind of stuff, if you have this material. No joke. But here's the point of all of this. This is why I wanted to talk about this, okay? This is YouTube's page on ban-worthy offenses. Here are some examples of content that's not allowed on YouTube. Repeatedly showing pictures of someone and then making statements like, look at this creature's teeth, they're so disgusting, with similar commentary targeting intrinsic attributes throughout the video. Targeting an individual based on their membership in a protected group, such as by saying, look at this filthy slur targeting a protected group, wish they'd just get hit by a truck. Targeting an individual and making claims they're involved in human trafficking in the context of a harmful conspiracy theory, where the conspiracy is linked to direct threats or violent acts. Sounds a little familiar, doesn't it? Using an extreme insult to dehumanize an individual based on their intrinsic attributes. For example, look at this dog of a woman. She's not even a human being. She must be some sort of mutant or animal. Now let's listen one more time to what Greg Locke said, okay? Just want to step back just a hair and listen one more time.
Full-blown demon-possessed Satan worshipers like Kenneth Copeland, the most powerful pastor in America. He's a demon and
He's a what?
He's a demon and he's going to hell, and you tell him I said so.
He's a demon. Interesting. Is that anything like calling somebody a dog, for example?
That low-down sorry trafficking. I wish to God he would take me to court.
Interesting. Would this fall into the category of targeting an individual and making claims that they're involved in human trafficking in the context of a harmful conspiracy theory? Would that fall into that category? By the way, again, if you don't believe that this is real or from Greg or something, link to his channel's in the description, link to the videos in the description, and link to timestamps is in the description of this video if you want to see it. Let's watch another. July 6th, same video.
We have convinced, not we, because we're awake and not woke. Can I get a witness? The media has convinced the world through manipulation in order to produce control and domination that Joe Biden actually won the election.
Just out of sheer interest, I was kind of perusing my way through the YouTube guidelines in terms of service. Election integrity. Content advancing false claims that widespread fraud, errors, or glitches occurred in certain past certified national elections, or content that claims that certified results of those elections were false. The policy currently applies to any past U.S. presidential election, the 2021 German federal election, or the 2018 Brazilian presidential election. Let's listen one more time.
Because we're awake and not woke. Can I get a witness? The media has convinced the world through manipulation in order to produce control and domination that Joe Biden actually won the election.
A link to the video, timestamps, and his YouTube channel are in the description. So do with that what you will. I don't like censoring people. I don't like shutting down public discourse. But when you get violent and when you spread conspiracy theories, you know, that's where I draw my line. That's where I draw my line. He doesn't have the right to break YouTube's terms of service and community guidelines, just like I don't. I stay perfectly within the bounds of what's allowed on this platform. Everybody else should have to also. And I don't want conspiracy theories and extremism spreading any further than they already have. So if you disagree with my take on this, if you disagree with the idea that Greg Locke should receive community guidelines strikes for the things that he said in this video, let me know in the comments. If you have another take on this and you think people should just leave him alone, let me know. Tell me your position. I'm open to hearing it. Joshua Lee, Locke's church is no longer a church but a hate group, in my opinion. Best way to stop them is to remove the tax-exempt status. Yep, I agree with you. I mean, it wouldn't stop them, though. They would continue on despite not having tax-exempt status. Greg Locke, a while back, claimed to have given up his tax-exempt status.
So guess what I did this week? I got an attorney, And I dissolved our stinking 501c3 in this church because the government ain't going to tell me what I can and what I can't say. So IRS, we don't need your stupid tax exempt status. You can put it in a bag and burn it in your front yard for all we care. I renounce 501c3 communism in this church. So we'll say what we want to, Skippy Lou. And the IRS and the FBI and everybody we've been turned into can eat my dirty socks on live TV.
Some sleuths in my audience went in search of his business license, found it, did a business search, and discovered that it is, in fact, as of this moment right now, still active and tax exempt. So Greg Locke claims he gave up tax exempt status. He didn't. He hasn't yet, at the very least. He's still not paying taxes.